What's up, Daily Vedantans? We're back with another reflection on the Daily Vedantic. This timeless tradition goes back over 5,000 years in terms of continuous study. The oldest philosophical tradition we know of, this philosophical tradition of Vedanta. So many relevant teachings, principles around parenting that are so relevant to parenting or really leading any team, organization. Could be a nonprofit. It could be a startup. I know that it comes in so handy in leading the different companies that I've founded. It is hands down the most influential manual for living and leading that I've ever come across. And we grew up in a household where our father was an executive recruiter, ran a recruiting business where they were placing executives in companies throughout the city of Dallas. And he's one of the best recruiters listed on these little annual lists, like 25 years in a row. One of the best recruiters out there. So we grew up in a household where we were talking about business leaders, business books. We were given books like From Good to Great when we were 13, 14 years old by Jim Collins, the revered business author. My childhood was filled with conversations, topics, books around building businesses, and yet I've never come across anything as helpful, simplifying, as effective as the principles within Vedanta. Now I see it applied to parenting. And man, these timeless principles. Another word for Vedanta is Sanatana Dharma, which means eternal principles. And these eternal principles are so valuable as a parent. I've got 3 young girls, 7, 4, and 2. And I come back to these principles quite often. I'm going to use the 3 that I think about most in a nice, concise alliteration of listening, leading, and loving. And what this philosophy says about spiritual parenting within each of these. The first is listening. One of the things that is built into a systematic approach to philosophy, like Vedanta, is a whole lot of elimination of the ego. And what do we get when we chip away? And boy, did I and still do have a lot to eliminate. But when we eliminate it, chip away at it bit by bit, we become listeners to ourselves. The ego no longer blinds us, or it's the cotton in our ears is now partially out of the ears to where we can listen to the wisdom of a timeless teacher. Listening to ourselves, listening to the sages and saints within this tradition or any other. I think about the words of Christ as much as I think about any teacher. Listening to our children, them feeling heard as a 7-year-old or a 4-year-old, them feeling like they're their own person instead of someone that is just inheriting a bunch of shoulds and should nots. This philosophy doesn't even have shoulds and should nots. There are no thou shalt or thou shalt nots. There's no 10 commandments. It's just rational, reason-based principles in life, where the benefits of following these principles are built in, but also given full latitude to go against them, kick the tires, question the hell out of them. And in the bucket of listening, this philosophy really encourages, cultivates this sense of being a witness to the emotions that rise up within us, and giving a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds before acting on them to listen to, what are they showing me? Agitation, stress. That, according to this philosophy, is just interrupted desire. So when I notice, wow, I'm really agitated by something as a parent, I recognize, oh, this is interrupted desire. I have been woken up 3 times and I just really want to go back to bed. And I could flip out, really feed the cortisol running through my body, jack it up, or I could take a pause, 2, 3, 5 seconds. Listen to this emotion, this awareness of this emotion that's arising, and recognize, well, if I feed into it, spike my cortisol, stress hormones in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., I'm probably not going to be able to go back to sleep for a while. If I do that to my 7-year-old daughter, it's going to be the same for her. She won't be able to go back to sleep for a while. If I recognize, I really wanted to get to this on time, and now I'm agitated, stressed, frantic, I can recognize, it's the desire to look good to this other person that I'm trying to get to on time. Recognize even further, I caused this by waiting too long to get the kids ready. This listening and this witnessing and the cultivation of the sakshi, Sanskrit word for the witness, is so unbelievably valuable as a parent. Witnessing what's 1, 2, or 3 layers beneath an emotion or an exchange. Listening to my child when she is doing something that's a roundabout way to get attention because she feels like she hasn't gotten enough, or is tormenting her sister, which doesn't happen very often. Our kids are actually super well behaved and take care of each other to a degree that I didn't know as one of 5. There is a witnessing without a reaction or judgment. You listen to a tone, energy, even the silence, and not just to words. And you're not listening to just respond. You're listening to understand. The next bucket is in leading, whether it's for a family or for a team or a company, but most importantly, at least in my view, for a family, is leading by example. This is straight from the Gita. Whatever a great person does, others follow. Whatever standards they set, the world pursues. It's not just one of the meaningful, helpful ways to influence the way a child grows up to lead by example. It's the only way to lead a child, to influence a child, is by leading through example. Every parent knows this. Kids listen to everything that we do. They watch everything that we do. Whatever words you might try to use, if you're not leading by example with your actions, they're going to hear your words once and see your actions 100 times in a different direction. This philosophy built on a pursuit of self-mastery, built on a pursuit of service to the higher, built around a life designed around giving. Kids see that over and over and over again. They see that generosity. They see that service-oriented spirit. They embody it with their siblings. They embody it with their friends. They embody it with their teachers. They embody it at school. They embody it in the background. You might be able to hear it here in swim class that we host for friends in our backyard. You lead by example, not by domination. And the example is one of consistency, of self-mastery, of equanimity, calm authority. You have an embodiment of order, not a commandment of one. You model that 1,000 times in the course of a week, and they pick it up. If there was any, the episode before this, I talked about the role of philosophy is a pursuit of clarity, a reframing of philosophy away from an academic pursuit towards something as simple and profoundly powerful as clarity. Another reorientation of philosophy would be to elevate the community around you through your own example. And I can't imagine a more powerful part of life than when it comes to parenting. For your own mental welfare, but even more importantly, for the welfare of your children, to inherit such a model, an embodiment, an example that they can see 1,000 times every week. And by the time they're 10, 15, 20, it's second nature to them. Not a bunch of shoulds and should nots, not a bunch of hypocrisy, not a bunch of commands, but just a lot of examples. And seeing the peace on the other side of the examples that you set. And seeing that peace and prosperity that unfolds when we lead a philosophical life. But last and certainly not least is love. Love, as defined in this philosophy, is seeing no otherness in the world. Love is a function of identification. Within this philosophy, when you identify with your child, 4, 5, 7, 17, and what they're going through, when you identify with it, instead of disidentify with it, cast shame, judgment. Love is the antithesis of judgment. It is identification. It is them feeling like you see it from their perspective, that you have been there. You've made those mistakes. Instead of shame for those mistakes, you recognize and you identify with not only the one making them, but also the conditions that created the circumstance where they made a mistake. But most importantly, the love is based on being, not doing. One of the most destructive things we can do for our children is to base our love around attachment to certain outcomes that they produce, attachment to certain personalities that they embody, attachment to who we want them to be. When our love is based around performance, we end up with human performers. When it's based around being, we end up with human beings. This philosophy and this cultivation of an identification with the other, and it could be a stranger, it could be a neighbor, but most certainly is appropriate with a child. When we cultivate a sense of oneness with them, our love is not based on a doing or a performance or an achievement. It's not based on getting things right. It's not based on anything external. Their love is based on the safety, security of them just being. That stability allows them not only to be, but it allows them to flourish, to come from a place of security, stability, safety. That ultimately is what love is, and they approach the world from a place of love, not from a place of insecurity, instability, feeling a need to perform or else they won't belong, but coming to each place, circumstance, interaction, point in life from a place of love, from a place of security, stability, from a place of being seen. These are 3 ways in which this philosophy has elevated our approach to parenting, because my wife and I both have studied this philosophy for about a decade. And if there was any unexpected yet supremely appreciated cascade, spillover, in an area of life that I didn't expect this philosophy to provide so much guidance in, it would be parenting. And leading, ultimately, to an evolved spiritual approach to such an important role. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.